So if you've ever been to the Berkshires, you know they're famous for Stockbridge and Great Barrington, Lenox, the big houses that New York Wealth built over many years, the culture, Jacob's Pillow, Tanglewood, all that good stuff. Don't forget Norman Rockwell, although he's just an illustrator. But the Berkshires are really known for, and what brought those New Yorkers here is their scenic beauty. We're walking through a stand of beech and oaks. They still have their leaves. You can see a declining sun over a set of ridges. The first ridge plunges down to the Farmington River Valley, and the second ridge plunges down to the Housatonic, which is really the heart and soul of the Berks. Now, if you've ever fished this area, Berkshire County extends from Connecticut all the way to Vermont. If you ever fished it, it can be frustrating. There's a lot of little ponds, and the biggest of all of them is Otis Reservoir. It's 3.5 miles long, and again, it's a reservoir. There's a lot of raised ponds, and in this episode, we're going to take a look at some of these ponds. We're going to see some of the techniques that work in them, and just investigate Berkshire ponds and the history around them.
Before you hit the water, you might want to do a little research, and a great tool to research any Massachusetts lake or pond would be the Massachusetts pond maps, which are put together by the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife starting back in the 1970s. Now, it's not all the lakes and ponds that you're allowed to fish, of course. Massachusetts is a commonwealth, and we have the right to fish any lake or pond over 10 acres, if you didn't know that, as long as you have a Massachusetts fishing license and you obey the game laws. But these are lakes that have been surveyed by the state, and they're bathymetric maps, some in a more crude form than others. Now, we're talking about the Berkshires here. So, as you can see, Berkshire County extends from Connecticut all the way to Vermont, and the first lake I'm looking at right here is Littleville Reservoir, which is on the very gateway to the Berkshires, the middle branch of the Westfield River. Now, you can see a little bit of information under the title of the map, and then you can see the depths. It's a topographic map of the depths of the lake called a bathymetric map. So it can be very useful for fishing, basically a chart. And then there's some great descriptions of the lake, where to launch, and the fish populations that can be found in that lake. We'll head up to the central Berkshires now and check out Buckley-Denton Reservoir, which is another great Massachusetts fishing hole. And you can see again, there's a bathymetric map, and it's more or less, detailed, not perfect, but a description of the fish available in the lake would be right there for you. Now, here's another one. This is Russell Pond in Russell, Massachusetts, which again has a description, but this is a more crude, older map, last surveyed in the 1970s. So check out your Mass lake and pond maps and get out on the water.
It's nice to know that a community cares. Camping prohibited, fires prohibited, danger, unguarded water area, no swimming, but in case of emergency, call 911. And finally, the ice conditions apparently are
Thing I usually tell people that are getting into fishing in Massachusetts is it's an ideal state to really focus on fishing out of a car top or boat or a kayak or canoe. Our state doesn't have many large lakes, and you can really get in close with the kayak and the canoe, really enjoy the natural scenery that's going to surround you, as well as maximize your chance at shallow water fish, as many of our lakes have extensive swamps and incoming streams that have all kinds of great shallow water cover. Now, there are lakes that do support bigger boats, and some even have workable boat ramps. But we are talking Massachusetts, so you won't need much more than a canoe.
Decided to attack the spinnerbait. Doesn't feel like a bad fish. No. It's what we expected. It's a pickerel. It's not a bad sized pickerel. He's running all over the place. I'd say he's about 16.
is he? 17? Maybe 18. When we were growing up, that was the standard. If you got an 18-inch pickerel, that was really cool. I got an 18-inch pickerel. I'd say he's about 18, maybe 19. And he took the spinnerbait. Maybe he's a 17, like I called it. Chain pickerel. See the chain markings? We're going to make it happen. Right, Tom?
Right.
These guys are making it happen. North end of the lake is where the middle branch comes in. It's shallow and there's some stumps down there. Some good looking terrain. The southern end is deep, very deep for a Massachusetts lake. And you can see the really big flood control dam right there, designed to prevent another 55 flood. It's a great place if you want to come up doing a little stargazing right there. Issue is that they leave the light on. There's a light and that can mess up your night vision, but on a good clear night it doesn't really even matter that much. So working weeds, don't go whipping it way back into the weeds right away. Start close to you. Oh, there's one. Oh, we missed it. I missed one too, Tom. I just missed one too. Oh, I got him that time. Oh, he came off. That's the thing about the weedless lures. The weedless lures can be sometimes a little bit fishless, right, Tom? Put it right back in. So we're looking at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 80 degrees, 85 degrees. We're in Massachusetts. The water temperature is probably 76, 77. And we're basically working our baits, floating surface plugs, across weeds, and we're not getting stupid. We're not going way in. We're staying on the edge of the weeds first. Right there is a very big snapping turtle. Do you see him? Right there. That is probably a 30-pound snapping turtle. Oh, and down he went. And he is big, and he is hunting. I can still see him, but he's underwater now. That's a big snapping turtle. The biggest one I've seen this year. Maybe bigger, maybe 40 pounds. He goes down into the mud and he just buries himself and he waits for an unsuspecting fish to get close and boom, he eats them. Now, they say that snapping turtles do not eat meat when they get to a certain size. Now, I will tell you, my brother told me that, and literally 3 casts later, a friend of ours had a fish on and was reeling it in, and it was getting chased by probably a 40 or 50-pound snapping turtle. By the way, the world record snapping turtle was caught in the state of Massachusetts, if you didn't know that. 72 pounds. On Lake Rohunta in Orange, Mass. By a professional turtle hunter, which is kind of cool. Yeah. Not that big. I just put on one of those swim jigs. You know those, what do you call them? Can never remember these things' names. Yeah, the Z-Man makes them. They work like a spinnerbait. What are they called? Can't remember the name. Chatterbait, that's it. So I just put the chatterbait on and I got 2 hits. The first cast, I threw it over by the weeds, and as it sunk, one hit it on the sink. And then I started reeling it in, and another one came back and grabbed it. Oh, a pickerel. No, he's on. He's just not doing anything. This is getting me wet. Perfect circle hook pickerel. Ah, a mean green fighting machine hammerhead pickerel. Well, got ourselves a little hopper on here. A largemouth bass that loved the airborne. He thought he was a smallmouth for a second. He just came about 1.5 feet out of the water. Circle hooked him on the weightless creature. Now he's not a huge fish, but he fell to the creature. And the circle hook. You know what the difference is between a lake and a pond? A lake does not allow light to get to the bottom of it, while ponds do. Most of Massachusetts' bodies of water are ponds, but they can be subdivided into raised great ponds and great ponds and natural ponds that aren't great ponds and beaver ponds. And we could also throw in there glacial kettle ponds. We're not going to go down that road. There are reservoirs in Massachusetts as well, but very few real lakes. Pontusic, Onoda, those are a couple of lakes out in the Berkshires that you might be interested in. While Goose Pond and Big Pond are both big ponds, but they're what are really called raised great ponds. Dam was built on them to raise the water level and get rid of some of the swamp along their edges. There are also a lot of flood control impoundments that might look like ponds but are really reservoirs on the small side, and there are some that are pretty big like Otis Reservoir. And don't shake a stick at a beaver pond. You can get a lot of fish in beaver ponds sometimes, so give them a shot if you got access. Here we go. Reeling that jerkbait nice and slow. And it looks like, who's this? Mr. Pickerel? Or is it Mr. Largemouth? Mr. Largemouth swims up and whacks it. He doesn't care. Now, again, luckily I made the call to, look at that, nice fat little largemouth, whacks the jerkbait. Fat as a pig, look at him. Beautiful. Look at him. Right there, below the treetops. Ooh, the Blob Eagle. He's looking for fish too. Dead ones. He doesn't like to have to work for his fish. Nope. Yeah, a little largemouth. There we go. Now these are in about 6 feet of water. There we go. We got one. Fat eco landed, and one was under those pads like I expected. Oh, now I got a circle hook on here, which is nice. Now normally, when I see that kind of aggressive attack like we saw there, now he's not a big one, but that makes me think there's more. Usually more. Quick attack like that, aggressive attack means more. See the sun going down right there, so that means right here is going to be in the shadow. So the fat eco, we let it sink. Watch your line. Okay, I'm going to flip it over. Put my sunglasses on, I'm blind. Right where I landed last time. Maybe there's some rocks under that emergent ledge. Ideal conditions right now if you like calm water.
Now, it was a high sky day, and I've noticed that on high sky days in June, you have a really good chance. I'm going to throw a starbait by there. You have a really good chance to get numbers and size fish hitting.